stream because I want to be able to start recording the week after, because I have like family coming over from Puerto Rico. So they're gonna be visiting for a week. So I'm planning to start streaming the week after.
Okay.
And so that's kind of like the plan. I was like looking at potential games. I was like thinking it's either I could either start with Monster Hunter because Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak is gonna be coming out soon.
Yeah.
And so that would probably be fun. Like
I mean, and you'll always have Kevin available to play with you too, so you'll be able to.
Yeah, literally, like so I got a little bit of a funny thing. So like, as of right now, Rise for Steam is $30, so it's on sale. So I picked that bitch up.
Does it look way better?
Oh yes, it runs so much better. It runs better. It plays better. Like my computer has a little bit of like slowdown at some points, which is weird. I still need to figure that out. But for the most part, everything runs in amazing. Because I tried the demo first because I wanted to see if it could even be ran. And then
I may try that too.
Sunbreak on Steam, fucking amazing. Like if you guys haven't gotten the chance to check it out, definitely check it out. It works wonders.
Damn, like it's just getting used to the controllers all over again.
You know, I'm not doing keyboard and mouse. I immediately plugged in a controller.
Your Pro.
I plugged in a PS5 controller and like
a PS5
I'm good.
Controller. That is like blasphemy. Bro, like, played a PS.
What do you mean?
Nintendo game.
What'd you play World with?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But like, initially came out for Switch, so it's like let me play this Xbox.
I mean, you can connect your Pro controller,
stick.
And if that makes you happy, then by all means.
You should though, because like for some reason, whenever the confirm button is circle instead of X, it always trips me up so bad. But Nintendo's always been that. The confirm button is always A, which is not the bottom button; it's the one to the right.
See. For me, like when I plugged in the PlayStation controller, the game was pretty smart enough to detect that it was a PlayStation controller, and it automatically like mapped it to confirm to X.
Wow. Okay, because mine, I played with Xbox and it made it B. It was weird. It was really weird.
That's strange.
I wouldn't. I mean, you can still manually set that up though.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
So
it allows you to change all the keybinds. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, you can change the keybinds.
That's why I mean, feel like PCs
like to a certain extent as well, right? Because like it's not going to let you like remap the entire controller. Like it'll let you remap a couple of things, but just not everything. I think keyboard might be a little bit different. You can actually map everything, but yeah, no. So it was kind of like funny because like I was like, Kevin, I need you to check out the Sunbreak demo on Steam, and he was like, oh no, it's not gonna work because like the Rise version didn't work, and I was like, trust me, just download it and trust me. Literally like a good 30-45 minutes later, maybe maybe I would say like an hour later, like I get like a voice message, and he's like, oh my god, the frames so good. And so like we were playing the demo. We were trying to fight.
I just saw fucking Mighty Keith saying it.
Yeah, no, it's so like it was so funny because he was like, he had like, you know, like you remember that one time that we went to fucking like what was it, Lazy Dog, and he like, oh,
fries.
Yeah, literally just like that. Like, but like
oh my God.
I don't know. It immediately convinced him to buy the Steam version as well. So I know for a fact that if I were to start streaming, like I would have him available.
I've been wanting to try it out on PC just because like, and my biggest complaint it has always been on Switch is that the graphics, right? Coming from World into to Rise was such a. It felt like it was like a downgrade just because of the graphics, right? I'm not saying that it looks bad in any way, right? But it doesn't live up to the PlayStation graphics. It's a Switch. It's a handheld console. Like it doesn't have the power.
I will say the graphics aren't actually that much better on PC. It's just it runs really fucking good. Better. Like the textures look like Nintendo textures still.
I mean, yes, but it's crisper.
That's true. Yeah.
It's like cleaner in a sense. Like it's not having to compress the graphics to a smaller screen.
Yeah.
And then decompress it when you kind of dock it. Like it just looks better. Like it looks better and it runs faster.
Mm-hmm.
And like just playing the game at 60 is just so much better. Like
Yeah. I am definitely. I'll probably. You said that the demo is still out in Steam, or it
Yeah.
already?
yeah, well, yeah. Well, I mean, the demo for Sunbreak is out on Steam, and you
I'll
can
probably
just
download it
quickly
and
give
try
it a
it out.
download and try it out instead of like before committing to buying the game. Like,
Because my only concern is that like that means I would need to play everything again to the point that I was at.
Yeah.
after,
I mean,
like,
if I'm
60
gonna-
hours plus.
if I'm gonna be streaming it, I might as well just start over because I'm not going to like just catch up. Like, I'm not gonna try to catch up to where I was before I start streaming it. Like, I would rather just like try a different weapon, and then just start from zero.
What were you using?
So when I was like playing on the Switch, I think I was still doing Lance. I was jumping between Lance, and then I think I jumped into Switch Axe for a little bit, and then I was like jumping around. I think for the stream though, I think I'm gonna go Insect Glaive, because Insect Glaive got some pretty cool
Buff,
moves. Pretty cool moves in Sunbreak, and I don't know. I like the idea.
I haven't seen the
being mobile.
Sunbreak moves, but
Dude,
then like
a lot of things like fucking Gunlance. I don't know if you haven't seen the trailers, but Gunlance got to this amazing fucking thing, where like, like that move where you kind of like propel yourself.
push. Yeah.
So now he has now Gunlance now has another one that is kind of like an escape tool, but then like you can immediately like cancel it and like jab him on the like so it's like kind of like situational, right? Because like if you have the monster like running behind you, you can use that to kind of like propel yourself back
Like,
as an
jerk
escape
him
move,
out. Yeah.
and then cancel and stab him in the
booty hole.
head as he's like running towards you, and it looked really cool.
I
think
gotta check the trailer
the
out.
one that obviously got the biggest buff is Longsword. They just have this like huge circle that they can counter easily and do some fucking amazing
I wonder
shit.
why they gave the longswords like a buff, because I feel like the longsword itself was one of the strongest weapons.
I would say it's even better now. Like,
That's what I'm saying. Like,
because like the coolest thing, so I'll tell you this, like pretty much every weapon got a buff overall just because of the whole mechanic of the switch skills. Because now they whenever you press like the silk bind like the button like which would be ZL in this case, you can now press X, or you can press Y or something like that. You can press like a combination and you'll switch into an entirely different loadout.
yeah.
So you can switch between loadouts, which means that you can like have a loadout that focuses on when the monster's down, and you're just kind of like capitalizing. You have all the moves that have like the shortest like end lags and shit, like whatever the fuck. Like, the most optimized set, and then you can basically switch to another loadout that is focused more on maneuverability, like whatever. Like, I know that Jake, you'd be happy to know that the Charge Blade has a move that basically turns into an axe that is cancelable. So it's called basically like it puts you into a ready stance. So like, when you're having to hold the sword down and you have to wait, and then it'll kind of like charge it. So the Silk Bind move, it looks similar, except that you activate it and it puts you into a stance that goes into the axe mode immediately. And so somebody found out that if you set up your charge blade to do like the axe, where like if you hold the button, it kind of like does multiple hits as you're like swiping down, because it's like kind of like working kind of like a chainsaw. You could silk bind into that move and it'll put you right back in, like at the very beginning. So you're not having to deal with any type of end lag.
Okay.
Yeah, you just immediately start the combo all over again. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I know. There's a bunch of cool things in the Sunbreak trailer.
That's interesting, because the thing is like I always liked that the Instaglaive got a lot of love whenever we came to Rise, because the Instaglaive itself was a weapon that was really lackluster in the damage department in Monster Hunter World. They try to make it work better with the clutch claw, but it still didn't live up to what it could have been. Plus, it sucked that there weren't any skills meant for bigger damage while airborne, and there were only like one or two. Like you couldn't keep on stacking on those, right? So it made the aerial glaive just really, really bad. And that's the whole appeal of it. You can fly around. You know, that's the fun of it, right?
Yeah.
So it always bothered me that it didn't get the love that it deserved. And now that you're telling me that, then that means just even better things are being brought to. I also heard or read. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna go ahead and then I'll go.
I was gonna say that I did read that apparently Sword and Shield got another pretty sizable buff. Apparently.
Oh yeah.
I don't know exactly what it is, but it got a major buff. Which I feel like it's actually it was always decent because it's. I feel like Sword and Shield was more of the support focused weapon, if that makes sense. Besides the hunting horn, because you could pop up consumables while still unsheathed and whatnot. So it's interesting that they decided to buff it.
Yeah.
Andale, wait.
Do you guys want to start?
Yeah, I was just about to just jump into it because we.
By all means, we can just do the intro now and go back.
So let me go ahead since I was the one that I wanted to host this time. So, how's it going, guys? This is Mike, and this is Press to Talk, and I kind of messed it up, but hey, here's the fellas.
It works.
Yeah, it works. It's a little weird because we're and worlds apart or whatever.
Yeah, so we have a little bit of a different format this time, just because of some circumstances that are kind of like getting in the way of us meeting together. But just because we're not there physically doesn't mean that we can't be here. So hope you guys don't mind, but this is probably gonna be the format for a good while until we can get together again.
Yeah, readjust all the different schedules going on.
Yeah, we got we got a couple of schedule changes, and then things are kind of like looking a little bit different now. We're trying to get we're trying to fix things so that it doesn't affect our regular flow of shit. But in the meantime, this is the best that we can do at the moment. I wanted to start because this past week or so, it was like the non-E3 E3. I think Donkey put it in the best way possible. If you guys haven't seen the news,
dude, that video was really fucking good.
Like it was like I had to like watch it a couple times because like at first I was like, I get where he's coming from, but I ended up like I just found myself like disagreeing with a couple of things, and it was like specifically towards like when he was like talking about Square Enix saying that they're like known for the worst possible like story writing, and I'm just like I
can't disagree with it. I mean, it's like it's hit and miss, I'll put it that way. Like you have Kingdom Hearts, and then you have like the really good shit.
Kingdom Hearts is kind of like the black sheep at this point. It's like we don't talk about that, we don't talk about that.
Hey, but it used to be good, all right? The narrative used to be good.
Bro, it was good on the first game and the first game only. Like, after that, it got too complicated.
It's like
you can't say anything else. Like, it just got too complicated.
As much as I shit on Tetsuya Nomura, I think the dude is super talented in his own field of expertise, which is character design. And that's it.
I mean, I feel like if anything, Kingdom Hearts became the new age or the new generation's hack, where you really gotta keep up with the fucking story to understand what the fuck is going on.
I don't even know if you could. Speaking of Donkey, if you go to his channel and you watch Kingdom Hearts Explained, you will lose track 20 seconds in of what the fuck is going on in the story. It is actually kind of amazing. And it's funny because he's only done 2 of those videos, which is Kingdom Hearts Explained, and then he did Metal Gear Explained. And he made Metal Gear sound like the most convoluted fucking story, which, like, I'm gonna be honest, it kind of is. But the difference is that Metal Gear has amazing characters that you want to learn about, and it's more like Metal Gear's almost like character driven, where Kingdom Hearts is like, I don't even know what drives the story. It's like darkness and light drive the story, and data and hearts and
carcasses with the no bodies.
yeah. But
Yeah, I think that I don't know. Like, ultimately, I had to like watch it a second time, right? That's pretty much what I want. Like, what I had to say. Like,
you should watch Asmongold react to it.
oh, I did.
Okay.
I did. I saw it live. I saw it live. He was triggered whenever like he started talking about like his game show and like.
Oh yeah.
But like he was fucking riffing on Miskiv, and like his whole like feel on platformers, and
That was hilarious. I'm sorry.
it was super fun. Like like he played that part like at least 3 times like live. Like it was funny.
Miskiff, I love him to death, but he just falls into that like category of streamer that keeps up with like the latest game. Like he's sort of like a Ludwig or like an XQC, where like a lot of these streamers, they don't really talk or play like classics. It's sort of like, oh, I love Jump King, or I love, Fall Guys, stuff like that. Whereas like it's just it was so weird seeing like Mizkif and Asmongold be a part of this game show, because Asmongold, I consider him to be a little bit more like nerdy, for lack of a better word.
The thing is that is their game show. Like, Asmongold owns OTK, so they did all of that.
Yeah.
So there's that extra added like pride to that, right? Like this is something that we worked really hard on, and for Donkey just kind of like, shit on it, like bash on it, like of course. I mean, he ultimately said that he wasn't mad, like he just was like overly expressing, like, oh man, like I worked really hard, and it's like I hate you, like. So I thought like that was funny, and so like but yeah, like after like the second watch, I ultimately ended up agreeing with Donkey. Like a lot of the games that were announced were just it was uninspiring. Like I felt I did not feel compelled to play any of them. Like the only ones that I got a genuine reaction for are coming from the companies that I trust the most.
Yeah.
Which would be, Capcom. Like as much as he shitted on Resident Evil 4, like I really want to see how they go about in doing the remake for it.
He's gonna play it.
Oh, he will.
He's gonna play it.
And then like I do it I do want to see Street Fighter 6 this is probably the only Street Fighter that I'm actually like really inclined to play.
Me too.
Because it looks really good, and I'm just excited about it. And like we got a couple of other really cool things announced from Capcom, like Dragon's Dogma 2 coming out of nowhere.
That looks really good.
And then I don't know, like, and then
what was the last one that came out? The Inquisition, was it?
That's Dragon Age.
No, that's Dragon Age. That's different. Like the last Dragon's Dogma project that came out was just the anime on Netflix.
Which I did not watch.
I mean, you can still watch it.
Is it good?
I think so.
Okay.
I haven't really seen much of it. I saw clips here and there, and it looked really good.
You know what? I think the first Dragon's Dogma is really cheap on Steam right now. I forgot to pick that up.
It's like $7, I think. Maybe less.
Less. It's $4.79. The last one that came out, in 2016.
That's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen this game.
It looks good.
It's a really good game. I remember playing it when it first came out, and I liked it.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room that nobody wants to play anymore.
Which is?
Starfield.
Oh. Yeah, you mean No Man's Sky 2?
Dude, like, it doesn't look bad, but
it doesn't look good. I'm gonna be honest with you. It just doesn't. It looks mediocre.
You want to talk about uninspired?
Wasn't that game on like on the works for like 15 years or something like that?
I think it was more. I think it's been like 20 years or something like that.
I just don't. I saw it, and my thoughts immediately went to
No Man's Sky.
another Bethesda game. You know, like
Yeah.
it's like all of this work and effort that they've been hinting and teasing this game for like the longest time, and this is the best that they could show us. Not only that, but it looks to copy a lot of the things that No Man's Sky did. I'm kind of thinking that maybe they just wanted to see, they wanted to realize No Man's Sky like how it should have been. Maybe that's what their design process is. Like, let's do No Man's Sky, but actually good.
I mean, the problem is, like, the only problem that I got with that mentality is that since they've been working on it for 15 plus years, right? Is it really, let's do what No Man's Sky is trying to do and failed at the beginning? Or is it, oh, wait, No Man's Sky did what we've been trying to accomplish for this many years, right? So at that point, I really don't want to say that it's a copy of No Man's Sky, but unfortunately, No Man's Sky did release it first.
If you look at the trailer for Starfield, Nekko,
I'm actually looking at it right now.
you are literally going to see that it's just No Man's Sky, with a little bit of combat, with a little bit more combat. Like at some point they were like fighting some NPCs.
Yeah, I'm saying that there's robots and shit.
The world looks kind of just as empty. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
And then they were making the promise. Yeah, I mean,
Hardly.
AAA, sure, AAA. But like, it's like they're doing the same mistakes that No Man's Sky did. It's like they didn't take what No Man's Sky did and learn from it. Because like they're promising 1,000-ish planets, and they're claiming that each of them is gonna be fully realized with a lot of stuff.
1,000.
Like that just tells me that
They're going the same fucking direction. Yeah.
It's going to end up the same. That's my thing. Is like I genuinely think that it's gonna end up the same.
The combat will make it less boring as I'm looking at it, but at the same time, yeah, like it's honestly almost a copy paste of what No Man's Sky is.
See, my thing is that if they've learned anything from their past mistakes, then good. Then we should have seen that in the trailer. Granted, this could have been an early trailer, but the combat just doesn't look any different from Fallout 4 to me, or Fallout 76.
I agree.
So I'm not inspired to take Starfield and play it. I might do it just to see how it is, because I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was just a bad trailer. And who knows? Maybe by the time that they fucking release it, it might actually be fully realized, and they might actually have a lot of stuff to do.
See, my biggest problem with games that are I forgot the word, procedurally generated or something like that, is that if you are to create such a thing, then you run the risk of creating planets that are dead, that don't have anything, unless you have like a particular setting where you need to have X amount of life in here. This has to be more of a water life type of thing. And that was the problem, because like you said, like if you were to play No Man's Sky, there were planets where the only thing that were around were the little sentinels flying around. There were no actual monsters or whatever going around, and again, combat was kind of bland and almost non-existent. Granted, hopefully here the combat does make you wanna explore, because then you have something to do whenever you encounter something that you're gonna play against, right? Whereas in Final Fantasy, as in No Man's Sky, you came across a sentinel that was pretty fucking strong, and if you killed one, then all it did is just raise the stars from fucking Grand Theft Auto, and then you had to book it from that world. Yeah. You couldn't fight back and then just get to a safe point. Whereas I mean here, it looks what I'm seeing looks definitely as a small improvement as to what No Man's Sky was. But again, for 15 years in the making, it's not what I would expect.
Yeah, it almost feels like a what is it, like Duke Nukem? What was that Duke Nukem game that took so fucking long, and then you just end up being one disappointment.
I've never even played a Duke Nukem game. I'm gonna be honest.
I mean,
you say that, and I just think about Broforce, but Broforce wasn't necessarily bad.
Duke Nukem Forever. That's the one that I'm talking about. Like that game took so long to come out, and then by the time that it did come out, it was not good. Because I genuinely think that there is such a thing as like working on something for too long.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
True.
Another unfortunate casualty to that is also Final Fantasy 15, because that took so long to make, and it switched like to different directors at like halfway through.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I don't think that Final Fantasy 15 is that bad.
It's not a failure.
They
but-
definitely fixed it up in the Royal Edition. They added more stuff, and they kind of realized it a little bit more. But it was just another casualty to that. Like, it took so long to make that by the time that it released, it just wasn't what people were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the thing is that you, as a game company or whatever, I feel like you also gotta ride the hype, and you need to release whenever the hype is the highest, because then during that time, no matter what yes, if you release a Cyberpunk 2077, then you're not gonna release a good game, right? But like, if you release a game that, to its generalistic terms, it's complete, it has all the things that it needs to have and all that, and you were able to release it in a timely manner, with also that hype train, then everybody that was interested in it will jump into it and will enjoy it for what it is. Whereas if you, like you said, take too long, then some people die out, and then the people that decided to stick with it, right, throughout the hype, they get it. It's like, wait, so this is what I waited for so long. Whereas if I received this like 2-3 years ago, I would have been happy with this game.
Right.
So I definitely agree with that sentiment.
As much as I hate Square Enix and their like how they release games, I think like I much prefer it over like what Bethesda's been doing with Starfield and what CD Projekt Red did with Cyberpunk. And yeah, those games took forever to make, but they just announced them so early, and they're so ambitious, you know? Whereas like Square, they've done the same thing twice now with Final Fantasy. With 7 Remake, they announced it in like 2015, and then we didn't we saw a bit of gameplay a few months later, and then we didn't hear anything for 4 years, like till 2019.
Yeah.
But when we saw the game again, it looked completely different, and it looked really fucking good, and the hype just started to build and build. Then they showed gameplay at E3, and then after that, it was just 9 months until they released the game. And
yeah, I mean, I agree with you there, because I mean, like, I do remember when they were like, shit, like the tech demo for Final Fantasy VII Remake happened when the PS3 was still.
That's right. Yeah,
going.
2005 or something like that, or 6.
There was a point where we might have gotten the remake when the PS3 comes out. Like,
yeah.
but
and the first bit of gameplay of 7 Remake looked like a PS3 game. I don't know if you remember. It looked like a completely different game.
Yeah, you're right. But you know what?
That's great.
Ultimately, like, I think when it comes to like working on projects for a long period of time, I think Square does it way better, because granted, like I feel like in this scenario, I do think that they learned from Final Fantasy 15. You know, they realized that, you know, we shouldn't be like, we should stick to an idea and just continue to work on it. Granted, remaking a game is in essence, right, in technicality, is just a little bit like just a little bit easier than just making a brand new game, just because like you have a lot of the design already there, you know. You're not having to tread new ground. You know, you have essentially all the stuff that you had when you first made the first game. You're just remaking it and making it look better, prettier, and modernized. But clearly, with Final Fantasy VII Remake, it shows that they did that and then a little bit more because and then we kind of like went over a conversation like when we were like doing the hot pot, but like but it definitely shows that they took Final Fantasy VII and said, instead of just remaking the game, we're gonna remake the game and then also make it the next installment in this essentially a saga of Final Fantasy VII. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they definitely changed the narrative a little bit on that.
they changed the narrative a lot. There's a lot
little
of
bit,
elements
just a little
that
bit.
they added that make that have a lot of very serious implications
Mhm.
on its story. And not only that, but they also redid the entire gameplay, and it plays so damn good. Like that's easily a game that I'll jump back to.
You know
And
what?
here-
I do wonder
yeah.
people that like complained that earlier on because of the gameplay aspect changing. I wonder if they went back and like kind of like ate their own words.
I want to. I want to say that. I want to say that they did, just because there's very little to complain about Final Fantasy VII's like combat.
Yeah.
Like
'Cause
its
it's-
actual gameplay is I don't know. It's just a beast.
It's somewhere in between turn-based and action. They like really found a way to just draw a line between the
Merge it.
two
Yeah.
and just make the perfect balance. And I think like the only thing they can improve on in the next game is like air combat. That's the only thing that they could do a little, and also like dual techs, like kind of doing specials with 2 to 3 party members at the same time. You know, like mixing specials together. I think that'd be really
yeah, kind of
cool.
like how they kind of like how they kind of like implemented it in 15, where like you can
Yeah.
actually do like combo attacks with your friends and shit.
And they did it in Intergrade. Granted, that was only 2 characters, and one of them wasn't even playable, but you could essentially switch into, like, if you pressed one of the triggers, I think it's L2, because in Final Fantasy VII Remake, L2 doesn't do anything in combat. And if you press it, that creates, like, a synergy mode, where if you do a special, if you do a command, like, not a spell, but an ability, the Sonin, the partner character, would like kind of clone your movements and do the special with you, and it would do more damage, but it would cost I think 2 ATB bars instead of just the 1, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Actually.
I think that I think the DLC for Final Fantasy VII Remake is just that. It was their little moment to experiment
Mm-hmm.
with the system, make it better. And I genuinely think that they did. I think the combat feels even better in that DLC, like with the synergy attacks and everything than the original game. And I can only see it getting better from there, because they're gonna take that into consideration, considering that we're now gonna have more party members join in, according, like, you know, if we follow the same story as the original. You know, we are going to have, we're going to have, like, Yuffie come in. We're going to have, like, Red 13 possibly playable, and all these other characters. Yeah, as I was saying, like, I think Final Fantasy VII is only going to get better from there. Which, Jake, I don't know if you were paying attention, but, like, they released a couple of tweets with some more information about Rebirth. Did you not see, like, Maximilian's video about it?
I was watching a stream, so I might have seen a little bit, but
Okay, so just to TLDR, so basically what they're saying is that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to be so accessible that you don't have to play Remake to
yes,
enjoy
yeah,
the
I saw
story.
that. Which I don't even know how that would work.
I think because what I think Max was right on the nose with what I was thinking, is that more than likely the game's gonna start with the trip to Nibelheim between Cloud and Sephiroth, like in the original.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you finish that, it jumps back and it might give you a little bit of a recap of where things left off. Which would be like they're going to the next town away from Midgar, and we can just leave it there, and then we go from there. But they did say that which is exciting. That this being a trilogy game, like a trilogy, right? This will be the Empire Strikes Back of Final Fantasy VII Remake,
Yeah.
which means that we're gonna get some characters beat the fuck up, you know?
Yes, and I do think that Max is actually right because everyone thinks it's gonna end, you know, where at the obvious
moment,
point.
yeah,
Max
no,
thinks that it's
that it's
going
gonna
to end
end.
at the mountain peak. Yeah, with the
Yes, the
when
moment that shit goes down.
yeah, Cloud's not there
Yep.
and Tifa and Barrett are in trouble. So yeah, I think
Yes.
that would be the perfect moment to
I
end.
think
That is strange because I think I know which one is the other situation that you're all
I
talking
mean,
about.
it's
and
the
I would
most
expect it to end
iconic
there.
moment. It's the most
Yeah.
iconic moment in Final Fantasy VII, and I genuinely agree because my theory is that this time around, it's not
It
that
would be
moment
like a
is not
hell
going
of
to happen.
cliffhanger.
That moment's not going to happen. Something else is going to happen, and it's going
With the
10
narrative
times
changes,
worse.
I can see it not happening, but at the same time, wouldn't you want that kind of feeling like re-experience?
No,
itself?
because the way that you set up, like the way that you have a good story, is by subverting expectations.
Which
Okay,
is funny 'cause that's exactly what-
spoilers for Final Fantasy VII, the whole game. All right,
the whole fucking game.
I think you're both right. I think they're gonna kill her, but I don't think they're gonna kill her when you think they're gonna kill her, because it's
It's
gonna
gonna be a different way.
subvert your expectations, and then she's gonna fucking die.
I disagree. I think they're not gonna kill her again. Because
I could see
the whole-
what Jake is saying though.
the thing is that the whole plot of remake as of right now is Sephiroth is attempting to break fate, because fate is what ultimately seals the entirety of the saga in motion. You know, fate is what leads Cloud to give Sephiroth the black materia. Fate is what ends up, causing the whole team to, kill him, fight him at the end, prevent Meteor from destroying the planet. Fate is what sets in motion Advent Children. Like, this whole concept of like everything is set in motion, like from beginning to end, everything just seems to be what is and what will be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Sephiroth is trying to get away from that because he knows that so long as Cloud is there, right, he'll always be beaten. Like he's always going to be taken down. Every single time that Sephiroth has shown up, so Cloud has ultimately defeated him. So it makes sense for Sephiroth, because like a lot of people seem to think that Sephiroth is just gonna have that classic villain moment, right? Like he's just gonna be just a regular old villain, and I don't think that's the case. Sephiroth is actually very smart, so it only makes sense for him to, in order to really achieve his goals, because at this point he's been thrown into the live stream. He's basically like merged into the live stream itself, because like I mentioned in our when we were doing the hot pot thing outside of all this, right? There's a book that details that Sephiroth was basically fighting from merging with the live stream itself, with the and for Nekko, like the live stream being the will of the planet, essentially like the planet's blood, if you want to put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to basically like prevent himself from like merging into it, and so he casts away his physical self, his his mental self and everything, and like the core of his soul, if you want to put it that way. He then attaches it. He links it to Cloud. So long as Cloud remembers Sephiroth, he will never die because his soul is connected to his. And then, he
Which is why you just killed the Batman. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, if you kill Cloud, then yeah, it's all it's all good, right? But if you take back and you go back and play Final Fantasy VII, you realize that Sephiroth this time around is doing something completely different. because in the original, Sephiroth doesn't start showing up until you get to the Shinra building, like when he really starts to make a real tangible effect on the story. But in the remake, he shows up at the very beginning. He shows up literally like moments after the first like the bombing mission, and he's like causing Cloud to have flashbacks of events that that should not happen until way later. Like Cloud shouldn't be remembering Nibelheim this early. Cloud shouldn't be like remembering like the death of a character, if you want to put it that way, right? So like he shouldn't be remembering deaths of characters like the moment that they meet them. Like Sephiroth is actively setting that up. Somehow he finds out that by having Cloud remember all of those moments, he's essentially like picking up fragments of his self, his physical self, his mental self, like his spiritual self, however you want to put it, up until the point where like he physically starts manifesting at the Shinra building, kind of like how the game played out. That's why like all of these whispers are actively interfering with that, because Sephiroth is playing against fate at that point. He's trying to he can't physically do anything, so he's setting up chess pieces so that when the moment comes, he gets what he wants, which is exactly what happened, because he begins to like target the like I guess like the will of one of the wills of the live stream itself, which is the Harbinger, by confronting Cloud and the party literally at the end of the Midgar Bridge. So he sets that up. He knows that he shouldn't be there, and by doing that, he's calling all of the Whispers to come and prevent that. And because the Whispers are part of the live stream, and the live stream is essentially past, present, and future, that's why you also see it during the time when Zack is trying to return to Midgar, because it's all happening at the same time. Like the Whispers are there in the past, and the present, and the future.
Yeah.
So whenever Sephiroth goads Cloud to essentially kill the Harbinger, he then takes that and then absorbs it, and then he basically turns into the new Harbinger. So at that point, he's one step closer to breaking away from fate, because now there's no like it's like you essentially like are killing the timekeeper, if you want to put it that way. The timekeeper being the person that makes sure that time continues to flow as it should. And Sephiroth kills the timekeeper, and essentially turns into the new one. And now he's like, all right, well, I'm just gonna at this point I get to rewrite the story however I want to, because he can go at any point. I mean, we got to see it at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Zack lives, which is like, I remember at the time it was the most mind-blowing moment in the entire game. Like, he's supposed to die, and then he's alive.
I wish they wouldn't have showed him in the trailer before the game came out. That was the worst fucking thing they could have done. Which is stupid, because they didn't even show him. They showed his feet. Yeah. And people still knew that it was Zack. That's how nerdy fucking Final Fantasy fans are, is that we're able to figure that shit out.
But was it like the show of the feet? Was it like after the whatever should have happened?
Here's what it, because you could see his feet, you could see his sword. He has the same sword as Cloud. However, Zack wears his sword with the edge, the sharp edge on the inside, where Cloud wears it on the outside. So we were able to kind of depict or dissect, analyze, decrypt that, dissect that it was Zack instead of Cloud.
But like, what was it that big of a spoiler?
Well,
because it was a different spot.
Because here's the thing: they're remaking or remastering. I want to talk about blurring the line between a remake and a remaster. They're remaking the prequel to Final Fantasy VII, which is called Crisis Core. At the end of that game, Zack dies.
Oh, okay.
And so putting him in the remake, it's like he's not even a part of the story. What is he doing here, you know?
So he wasn't in the original 7 then.
He is, but in flashbacks.
He is, yeah, but like it never.
Then how would you be able to tell that it wasn't a flashback that he popped up in the trailer? That's so
I mean,
weird.
you're right. I mean,
But
it could have been that.
why would you, like, the thing is that he's not important at this point in the story that the remake is taking place in, so putting him in a trailer implies that he has an important part in the overall story of Remake.
You're not wrong, but it also throws me back to like whenever we were watching Jujutsu Kaisen and they kind of teased that one character appears in Jujutsu Zero, which I haven't watched yet.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my god, they're showing him, and he never came to fruition at all because like he was just in the intro and some flashbacks, but nothing actually ever happened with that character. So it's so odd that like people grabbed it and immediately it's like, oh, we're spoiled. We know he's alive. We know that he's gonna be kicking. That's so strange that people were able to like dissect it and immediately get spoiled.
Yeah. I mean, I consider it to be a little too much in a trailer. That's a little too much to show in a trailer for me. And there was a lot in that last trailer. That's like not even the worst part, but
I mean, that's an interesting way of putting it, because the way that I see it, it's kind of like an anything
that's
goes.
what I was gonna do.
You know, like I it could have just been that the like, you know, the game was gonna reference that at that point just because like it's important to whatever. Like it really just depends on how they were gonna play it out. It played out the way that it did, right? So I can see why Jake would make that argument, but I guess at the time we didn't know. It could have gone in any
Either way.
direction, to be honest.
I mean, Final Fantasy fans and nerds and freaking lore dwellers are what they are because they're able to tell these things and be able to pick it up, right? So I don't necessarily like am upset because some people will consider it a spoiler. It's more like I'm actually quite impressed that they were able to like, okay, no, this is gonna happen and this is exactly what it was even before the case. Anyways, but I just I don't know, I found that interesting. Nonetheless, there was something else that y'all were talking about and I kind of forgot what it was.
dying. Aerith dying.
So my thing with that is just like I still feel like Jake might be right to a degree because let's say the part that it was supposed to happen passes and
You're like,
the
oh, thank God.
and then it's like, oh my god, yes, and then 5 seconds later something else happens and a fucking truck just shows out of nowhere just to fucking put something out
See,
That'd be fucked.
I
And
agree.
awesome.
I agree, but imagine this scenario, which is the scenario that I'm gonna stick with.
Okay.
It would be so easy for them to just repeat her death, right? Because
Yeah.
to some extent we are already prepared to go through that again. But what if they, by subverting our expectations, they set it up that she's about to die, but something else happens and somebody else dies in her stead?
Some like big titty person
Because-
or, you know.
Because my biggest thing is like
She can't die because those mommy milkers will protect her.
No, that's why the figurine came out. That's why it's happening. They knew.
Yeah, right. They're trying to set you up with the merch so that I got all this Tifa merch, and then she just gets got, and what's gonna happen then, right? No, I think honestly, like it would be very interesting to see Tifa dying instead of Aerith. Mostly not because not because I'm trying to do like an equivalent exchange type thing here, where like, let's save Aerith this time at the cost of Tifa dying.
Somebody else,
I don't think
very-
they're equal, so that wouldn't
No,
even
I
compute.
think this game there's going to be a very specific thing happening, and it all just kind of like ties to Sephiroth. Like Sephiroth knows how this all ends. He knows what are the events that are that basically cause everything to happen. If he's trying to break away from fate, like killing Aerith is a pivotal point in the story, because that's what basically picks everything from like at that point. Because it's Aerith dying that essentially puts things into motion. If you really want to think about it. So Sephiroth would, in order to break away from fate and rewriting the story, rewriting his future, rewriting how everything plays out, I would see him foregoing killing Aerith, because I up until that point, you also got to understand, up until that point, Aerith still believed that the holy materia, the materia that she has, is still, it still does nothing. Granted, she was still being called. She was starting to get like those like messages from the live stream and everything. But Sephiroth has control of how that shit plays out now. So he could so easily do something worse instead and cut off Aerith from the live stream altogether. I wouldn't know how, but like it would be so like easy to figure out a way for Sephiroth to cut off Aerith from the live stream, which would prevent her from ever knowing that holy is actually what they need to prevent. And then he can still play out the rest of the story, have Cloud like be like completely mind controlled, and give him the black materia at the end, and just really just fuck him up in the process too. And then the only other moment that I would figure that he would know is that Tifa's the one that puts Cloud back together at towards the end of Final Fantasy VII. Like, she's the one that picks up all the pieces and gives him that moment of like confidence that he is who he is and he's not anybody else, right? So how do you keep a broken man broken? You essentially eliminate the only person that would be able to fix him.
Chaos.
So I'm not
Well,
saying
it's funny
that,
because Sephiroth is chaos.
yeah.
Like, he is the incarnation of chaos in this game.
Yeah.
That's
So I'm not saying that Tifa's gonna end up dead indefinitely. I think part 3 would be where everything kind of culminates, and at that point I feel like Tifa will be brought back in some way, if it is the case that they kill her.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess Aerith in that matter. If they do decide to kill Aerith, I think she'll be brought back in part 3 at some point. Because what better way to end Final Fantasy VII? And I'm talking about Final Fantasy VII as in its entirety, by having everyone have that happy ending, where like despite Sephiroth rewriting the entire plot line of Final Fantasy VII and turning it into something that goes into his favor, he fails anyway. And not only that, but the people that he ended up like killing end up being alive, and you just have this one big happily ever after where like everything is right.
Mm-hmm.
Because from what I understand, this is the end of Final Fantasy VII. Like, after this, there's not going to be any more projects, because this is the culmination of the entire storyline of Final Fantasy VII.
So they're just making 2 parts? That's it?
3.
No, they're making 3.
Oh, 3, okay.
And then you have your side projects, like, which would be the remake of Crisis Core, Ever Crisis, and all these other things.
Yeah, because I was about to say, like, the first part apparently was like barely even halfway of the thing, so if they just made a second part, it would be way
That's why, well, it would be fucking, like, that's why I kind of knew there wasn't going to be 2 games, is because the Final Fantasy Remake Part 1 covered the first 5 hours of the original game. The original game is like 40 hours. So if you want to equate every 5 hour, and I would say Remake takes what, 30 hours to beat? I would say roughly, give or take 5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's say every 5 hours of the original game, they somehow can stretch that out to 30 hours. That means you're dealing with a 200-hour RPG almost, I want to say. And Square's just never... And that's just like main story, you know? Like they have to cover that much if they're going to flesh everything out. And so this next game, it's going to be big. Even though they're splitting it up into 3 parts, the next 2 games are going to be very ambitious. Very big, ambitious. Probably not open world, but
it's going to be PS5 only from this point onwards.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's my take on it. Like, I know that at some point, and here's another thing too. Like I'll add on to this as well. Like, Max made a point that makes a lot of sense. Like, at the end of this new game coming out, the entire party is going to be completely split up. Like, you know, they're at their worst. They're all split up. Everything's going to shit. And Cloud's going to be gone. Like, for sure. Like, Cloud is disappeared. We don't know what happened to Cloud. How fucking amazing would it be that in the third and final part, the person that brings the entire party back together is Zack.
Zack. Yes.
Like,
I think that's very plausible.
Zack would be the replacement for Cloud at that moment, and we could even go so far as to say that if Zack is alive, like, in order to make this interesting, right, I would have to assume that at some point, you know, Aerith would still be alive because Aerith has that connection with Zack. If Aerith is able to, like, somehow connect with Zack somehow, some way, and, like, basically brief him on what is happening, and, like, let's say that they kill Tifa, and then Tifa's no longer there, the only other person that has an intimate connection with Cloud at that point that is still alive and well would be Zack himself. So we could potentially see, like, the scene of, like, Cloud being reconstructed, but instead of Tifa being there, it's Zack. So we get to see, like, a different side. Granted, Zack and Cloud don't really have that many meaningful moments as opposed to, like, Tifa and Cloud. So it would be interesting to see how that dynamic would play out. But I could see literally, like, you know, having a repeat of that scene, and then, like, Zack is the one that'd be like, no, homie, like, it was me. You were the little grunt guy next to me. Like, I was the one in Nibelheim. You saw me. We took that, like, we did all these things, and you ultimately killed Sephiroth. And shit like that. And then, like, Cloud just kind of, like, you know, turns into his own thing. Because I don't know, like, I just don't see, unless, like, somehow, some way they kind of, like, course correct and they end up killing Zack again. It's like, instead of Zack dying like how he did at the end of Crisis Core, like, Zack dies another way in Final Fantasy VII, and I at that point I just don't. Why bring it back if you're just gonna kill him again? You know. So I think this next time around we might get to see, you know, Zack actually playing a part. He might even be playable, completely playable. He has.
I would hope so.
To himself. Yeah.
We're 2/3 of the way in, so even if he's not a part of, like, the actual posse that we're gonna be having in the game, I'd love to just, like, solo play him on his own little journey, because we still don't even know, like, where he is on the timeline.
I think that's gonna get explained in the remake of Crisis Core.
Are you able to play, like, any other characters that are not part of the main cast, like Jesse and
no, not Jesse, not Biggs, not Wedge. You only get to, like, so far in this game, you only get to play the main cast. I
And then
suppose save from Red 13. Red 13 showed up at the very end, and he was kind of like an assist character. Like he was there story wise, but he wasn't there as part of the party.
But that's what I'm saying. How are you confident, or are you wanting to play as Zack if Zack is not even part of the main crew? You know?
Well, he is gonna be,
because I think there's a lot of heavy implications and a lot of significance in Zack being alive in the story now. Like, we have so many unanswered questions, like what happened to Zack after, because he made it to Midgar. So what happened then? How is it that Cloud still has the Buster Sword now? What happened? You know?
Yeah.
Like, I think that we're not gonna get those answers up until like the remake of Crisis Core. I think Crisis Core, we're gonna have that moment where like we think it's gonna end the same way, but then it won't. I think the remake of Crisis Core is gonna end with the remake ending, where like they make it to Midgar, and then we're gonna get like a secret cutscene where it shows what happened to Zack when he made it.
Okay.
Which would
Yeah,
then
because
be referenced in the next game.
Okay, yeah, because the reason, and that makes a lot of sense, the reason that I was kind of thinking maybe not, but I'm starting to think that you're right, is because they're using the PSP cutscenes, so they would have to do a completely new ending, like a completely new cutscene for the ending. Because, yeah, Nekko, like all the voice lines, cutscenes are ripped straight out of the PSP game.
For now, this is only for the intents of the trailer, though.
That's true.
So
It
is
might
the
be completely
PSP game
different.
like one of the side games that they made, like Crisis Core on it?
Well, that
Yeah,
is
it was
Crisis
part
Core.
of the
It's
compilation,
yeah, it's the prequel story, and you exclusively play as Zack.
You only ever play as Zack. You don't play as anybody else but Zack.
So see that is one of the reasons why I was like wondering, like, okay, so what makes you think that you'll ever play this character? Is because you were able to play with him in a different game. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
and like like Jay said, like ultimately he ends up dying in the original.
Yeah.
Like
It's
was
like
set, right?
for me, with y'all saying, "Oh, like I would like to play as Zack," is as if, I don't know, Zora came out of nowhere. He's like, "Oh, I can play Zora now." Like Zora wasn't even part of the story besides flashbacks, so why would it matter? But like if you're saying that he was actually one of the main character in one of the side games, then okay, makes sense. I thought that Crisis Core was still Cloud.
No. Crisis Core is Zack, and it takes like the story takes place events in like I guess like a couple of years leading up to Final Fantasy VII. So we get to see Zack rise up to becoming the first, rank first of soldier, and then we get to see the Nibelheim incident, which is what sets up Cloud up to Final Fantasy VII, because there's a point in the story, and I wouldn't want to like spoil it too much at this point, but like there's a point where both Zack and Cloud are experimented on, and then because of that experiment, like Cloud is in like a comatose state.
Yeah.
And is essentially absorbing a lot of information at that moment, because at the end of Crisis Core, when Zack gives Cloud the Buster Sword as he's dying, Cloud essentially assumes Zack's role, like Zack's personality, to put it that way. And the whole reason that even happens is because of the experiment in the first place. Like, they're like fucking Genova, like the Genova cells have this amazing like ability that it makes a lot of sense. Like, they have the ability to mimic and to essentially overwrite memories, which when paired together, that's how Cloud ends up developing this identity that he's like Zack, essentially. Like he's soldier when he never was. So
yeah,
like there's a lot of stuff that's happening in these like new games that I'm very excited about. So I don't know, man. Like I'm just very excited for the few couple games, honestly. Like,
Hmm.
you know, wrapping it back to the non E3 E3, like there really just wasn't a lot there. Granted, I'm still kind of hopeful that Nintendo will show up out of nowhere with a direct and
There is one coming on the 29th.
I do know that Nintendo
confirmed,
is
or is
coming
it
up.
rumored?
Alana Pierce sounded very, very sure about this.
You
Like
said
she didn't.
Nintendo, right?
What is
Yeah.
Alana Pierce working on that is Nintendo related?
Well, she's like a big time insider, and she said she didn't sound like it was a maybe. She sounded very confident. She was like,
They're
Oh.
gonna come out with like a Pokemon news for sure. That's for sure.
they have
But
to,
outside,
yeah, they have to.
outside of that, I don't know what else will they advertise.
I think they're going to be pretty
Xenoblade
close.
3 is about to come out next month.
That is true, and we also need Bayonetta news. I think that's going to be an October release probably.
You think so?
Yeah, I think yeah, I would say October.
I know for sure that at this point I have a strong feeling that we're actually gonna get to see some Zelda news.
I'd be surprised if we saw Zelda.
I feel like
I think we
need.
I think we need to, because they set up the release to be the end of 2022 ish, like somewhere in 2022,
Yeah.
unless they push it back.
No,
Did they push
it's
it back?
it's yeah, it's 2023. Remember, they
Oh,
came
yeah,
out with the
you're
whole
right.
thing.
You're
Yeah,
right,
so
you're right. I completely forgot about that announcement. You're right.
Would
But
they
it could be
tease
any
though?
time in 2023 though. Like it could be
if
first
you
quarter,
if you
second quarter.
like if you want to know what I think, they're probably just gonna have a whole showcase, like a 10-minute thing dedicated to Zelda, where they show the trailer, all the gameplay, and it's gonna be probably like December around the Game Awards, or like January, and then it's gonna release in like March, because that's basically what they did with Breath of the Wild. They showed it like all the years preceding, and then like the year that it was coming out, they showed it like 2 months before it released, and that got everyone hyped. And then just 2 months later, they released it with the Switch.
No,
I
yeah.
think the reason why I don't think we've heard anything is because I've pretty much heard nothing but bad news about Zelda, which has kind of made my excitement, like, dampen a little bit.
What do you
Just
mean?
I'm hearing that from a lot of sources, that the reason we're hearing so little and it keeps getting pushed, and the reason it's taking so long, is because it's a very ambitious game, and the Switch is just not
Keeping
being
up
able to
with it.
keep up with the game.
Jeez.
And so some people think it's going to launch with a Switch Pro. Some people think they're just trying to optimize it as best they can. But it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense because the game has taken so fucking long.
I mean, would you say that would you say this they did the same for Breath of the Wild, like the first one? Like they
I don't
kept
know. Well,
pushing
it
back
was
because, it just doesn't seem.
Breath of the Wild was a whole new thing, though.
That is true, but do you honestly think that they kept pushing it and ultimately released it with the Switch just because the Wii U couldn't handle it? Because
Well, I played it.
ran on the Wii U.
Yeah, I played it on the Wii U and it played really well. I think it was just making the engine for it and perfecting that, because they don't have to make the engine again for this game. They're using the same one. And I just, from everything we've seen, the map is probably going to be fucking giant in this game, and it's probably going to be a really ambitious game. So I hope that I'm wrong and that's not the reason, but that's all I've been hearing. That's all I've been hearing online, is that's why we haven't.
It could very well be optimization issues. I'm not gonna lie to you there, because when you're dealing with something that has such a big scope, we are talking about the possibility of an entirely new map, just as big as the Hyrule from Breath of the Wild, if not more. Essentially being created. So you're basically talking about two humongous maps.
Yeah.
that
And mechanics
are
where you're
filled-
flying through the
that
air.
are filled to the brim as well.
Yeah.
goddamn fucking Breath of the Wild's map was like just full of shit. Like, talk about a realized world, you know, like. So doing it again is probably a possibility. Like, and then trying to optimize having those two maps and then how they work together and everything, plus all the systems that they're doing, dungeons and shit like that, the story. They got a big project ahead of them. I'm not gonna lie to you there. But do I think that all of the stuff that they're doing is just so much that the Switch can't handle it? I don't know. I kind of want to agree, just because, you know, the Switch is starting to become a little bit dated. Like, it's now getting to that point where PS5 and the Xbox Series X is outperforming it by a lot.
I mean, they were already from the get-go.
And you're right. But I don't know. I mean, the Switch is almost at the end of its life cycle already.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
How long ago did it come out? 4 years ago?
Oh, fuck no. It was 2017. Oh, I guess, yeah, it's only 5 years.
So, yeah, it's definitely reaching its end, because usually it's like 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
They usually last. I mean, for what it is, it does a great job, again, for being a handheld and everything, but it's just like, back in the day, Nintendo was focusing on having like the GameCube and the DS, or, you know, the Wii and the 3DS, you know. So now the fact that they're only focusing on just the portable console, you know, that's like they shooting themselves in the foot.
I think it's either they're trying to optimize it, or Nintendo is actually just gonna scrap the whole idea of putting it on the Switch and just jump into the next console. And then
I could see that
they're redoing the project for the new console, and then have that be the launch. And then would they release it on the Switch? Maybe. I mean, if they're gonna follow the same the same release plan that they did for the first Breath of the Wild, they released it for the Switch and for the Wii U. I think they released them simultaneously, I think, right?
Yeah.
So it could be a thing. They could just do it again, and they just release the Switch version and the new console version.
Yeah, because by the time it comes out, if we're assuming March 2023, that's 6 years of the Switch, which is the perfect window. And I do think that it could be released on Switch. Nintendo is just like, if the game doesn't run to their standards, they're just not going to release the game. They're not going to pull a Cyberpunk or a Bethesda. They're going to optimize it until it's done.
Yeah.
You know, that the worst thing I can say about Nintendo is that some of their games have low frame rate, and that's about it. None of their games of the past few years,
honestly.
Yeah, none of their games that I've played recently have had any bugs, any like game-breaking bugs or glitches. They've just, I think that's
the highest they run is the 30.
Yeah, that's true. Some games run 60.
Some.
Very few, yeah. Skyward Sword, a Wii game, and then a few others.
If Skyward Sword didn't run at 60 with the Switch's specs and capabilities, then I would be very concerned.
That's true.
So yeah.
Yeah, I got Shin Megami right here, actually. I just started playing it again.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I feel like Mighty Keith, where I'm asking, like, where are my frames? I gotta play 3, because that game actually runs really good.
Yes, I gotta jump back. I got a big haul the other day. I ended up getting Bravely Default 2.
Nice.
Octopath Traveler. I got the 13 Sentinels for the Switch.
Ooh,
and then
let me know how that is.
I'll let you know. And then I got this one that, like, I've been keeping on my eye on, but I've never really like gotten a chance to get it. But I thought I was able to get. It's called Eastward. Eastward.
Okay.
So it's kind of
Sounds familiar.
it's kind of like a weird hybrid between Earthbound and The Legend of Zelda. So it plays Zelda-ish, but then has the quirkiness and the like I guess like the bizarre world of like Earthboundy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very Earthboundy in that sense. So I'm kind of curious to see how it plays and how it is. Um, and yeah, I'll let you guys. I'll let you know how it is if it ends up being a good game or not. From what I've seen, like review wise, it looks to be a good game. I don't ever really remember seeing any bad reviews for it. But I'm curious. I will say this though, Nekko.
Mm.
Ruby Grim Eclipse is available for pre-order on Best Buy.
For the Switch?
For the Switch version, yeah. Don't know if you wanted to pick that up, but it's there.
When does it release? Because why is it a pre-order?
Because it's like the definitive edition, I think, or something like that.
I've seen this game, Mike.
Oh yeah?
It looks really good.
Yeah, I was curious about it. It looked really interesting. So I'll let you know if it's worth playing.
But yeah, we gotta get on. We gotta do Grim Eclipse at some point.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, I would like to definitely play with y'all, as in like a group thing.
Oh yeah.
Because like, I mean, unfortunately, Jake has that I'm done with warrior style games, right? So it is slightly a warrior game.
You know, it's funny. Like I saw some like gameplay clips of Grim Eclipse, and I was like, man, this game could have been, and I think it should be a warrior game. Like, I think it has the capacity to be a really good Warriors game if you ask me. Just because, like, I don't know, like, I like the idea of these Ruby characters just plowing down through a shit ton of White Fang or Grim, or even like Atlas robots. You know, like, just it sets itself up so nicely. You know. Yeah. Because like they already have all these insane combos and shit like that in the show, and just implement that and then just make it into the Warriors format, and then fucking like just give me Yang just plowing down a shit ton of Grim, and then just have Big Dickus in the background. Just give me that fight, you know, like
the fucking raid boss.
Yeah.
I gotta say I'm not done with Warriors games. I'm just, for the time, I'm slightly burnt out on them. I have so many of them, and I didn't realize until you mentioned it how many I have, like, and how many I've played, because there's like almost for every like role-playing franchise they have a warrior style game. Like, I even have fucking literally right here Dragon Quest Heroes 2 just chilling on my counter, and they're like everywhere around me. I have like 2 Zelda ones. I have the other Fire Emblem one. I have Persona
the Fire
Strikers.
Emblem one is really good.
Yeah, I have the first Fire Emblem one. I haven't even tried the demo for the new one.
The new one is really good. I've been like putting a lot of hours into it. Like at this point, I'm just kind of like having all of my characters literally master all of the classes that I can have them master, which is something that I wanted to do in the actual game, but like trying to like get them to level up and master a class is an insane task. But this game is a lot easier. But it's really good. Like combat wise, it's really good. Like everything that you love about the strategic elements of the original game are there, and then you just add the Warriors formula to it. Because you can literally set up like all of, like the passive skills on your characters to better fit them for whatever. Battalions are there, weapon skills are there. they have their unique passives, and each of them are unique. Like fucking Ignaz's like ability like is really, it's very unique to him, because like he's like in the original game he's obsessed with painting, like he's a painter, and so like a lot of his attacks literally just drop a bunch of like different like paint blobs on the ground, and each different color has a different effect. Like, blue would be like ice, red is fire, green is wind and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the main characters who has like literally can fucking zip around the battlefield with relative ease. Like who else? Fucking Lysithia is like has this ability where like she just gives like a dark magic debuff on them, and then you press the button that activates that ability, and she literally just pulls them all in to continue doing combos and shit like that. Like like each character has like their own little unique passive. So seeing that is super interesting, and I don't know, like like out of all the Warriors games, I think this one is by far my most favorite, just because of the complexity in its gameplay.
Nice.
Like
I gotta try the demo.
I really wish that moving forward they do something similar for the other games, but since this is like for Fire Emblem, I wouldn't be able to, it doesn't justify it. Like having something like that being implemented, but one can only hope, right?
I did enjoy it. I played it. I did enjoy it. It's just it kind of took me out a little bit, because since you already played through the game, right, and it just takes place as if the game never happened.
It's like an alternate. It's like the Legend of Zelda one. It's like an alternate timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it kind of threw me off a little bit. It wasn't bad, but again, I wasn't expecting it to go that route.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of odd at the beginning. I still liked it. It's pretty good. It bothered me because the demo ended at a spot where I'm like, fuck. I mean, they knew what they were doing.
I wanted to play more and I couldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, shit. Now I definitely gotta try it.
Yeah,
because they opened up a lot of, because I don't know if all the Warrior games are like that, but the way that they opened the map and you kind of could go a certain areas,
this is unique.
Cool.
I think this is pretty unique to them, because I like the Breath of the Wild one had its own little map thing. It was and it's different from this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the Warriors one had a different map like thing happening. It's not the same. I think I think the first Warriors is a little bit more traditional, where it's like chapter selects, I think, ish. I don't know. I would have to play that game again to kind of like figure to see if that is true. But yeah, no, this one, like, I don't know. It's just really good. I would definitely recommend you try it out.
All right, before we wrap, I got one last question.
Okay.
Oh, no.
We saw a lot in this anti-E3, but what is one thing that we didn't see that you are really hoping for, or that you were anticipating? I can go first if y'all need a minute to think.
Yeah, please.
Because there is a few things, but if I had to name one, and I don't want to name like the obvious one, I guess.
I think I have one in my head right now, but go ahead.
Okay. But back in like, I think it was either the end of 2020 or 2021, we heard from, I think it's Koji Igarashi, who was with Konami. He did Castlevania, and then he moved to do Bloodstain. He started a Kickstarter for Bloodstain, and he was just like bringing out the games rapidly. And it's been a few years since we've gotten one, and so, but I've heard for a couple years that he's gonna make a sequel to Ritual of the Night, which was the Symphony of the Night kind of a style game, and kind of just waiting for a new Bloodstain, because I've been hearing rumors for the longest time, and we still haven't gotten any news on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
What about you, Nekko?
for me, it will be just, and I feel like it's kind of a big ask because they already kind of showed it like 3 weeks ago, the whole 16.
More
I
on
would have
16?
liked to see because 16, Final Fantasy 16, they show actual gameplay. They only show
Yeah.
Like a very,
They show
very brief
gameplay?
snippet. A very brief snippet. Like nothing really like too like a lot, you know?
Yeah, I remember mainly it being just cutscenes and like things like that. So I would have liked to see how the gameplay runs. I mean, granted, we're probably gonna see that months in because it's in that game coming in 2023 or
Yeah. I'd say in a few months. Yeah, we almost I think we saw more Titan gameplay than like actual gameplay because apparently you get to play as Titans in this new one.
Yeah.
Or summons
Icons.
icons.
Is what
Yeah.
they're called it. You know, I guess one thing that I really would have wanted to see. I guess I would have to be, you know, being very hopeful, right? You know, something Silent Hill related. Would have liked to see something like that.
There aren't that many horror games coming out recently.
No, like that, like the big three, which were at the during the PlayStation 2 era, was Resident Evil, Silent Hills, and Fatal Frame. At least in my opinion, those were like
Fatal Frame only had like 1 or 2 games.
It had 4.
Had 4?
Mm-hmm. It had 4, and then the one that got re-released to the Switch is essentially the one that we never got because I think the number 4 was only released on Japan. So
curse you, Japan.
I don't know, like it's really hard to say because there's many things that I kind of wish I would have wanted to see.
Yeah, I feel the same.
You know what? I think I'll settle on. I would have wanted to see some Elder Scrolls.
Okay.
Like, as much as I was like, okay, yeah, Starfield, but I kind of really wanted to see Elder Scrolls. Like
I agree with that.
Like I want to see what's next. I want to see if it's, if it's better than Starfield, or not Starfield, but like I guess Skyrim. At this point, yeah, like hopefully it's better than the predicted mess that will be Starfield at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think we'll get to see it for the next couple of years. I think it's too early.
Nekko, you almost died. What's going on?
Yeah, no, I was fuck. I think it just disappeared from my brain. Fuck. What was it? Oh, okay. So this might be a dumb question, but did Ghostwire ever come out?
Yeah.
Yes.
It got kind of mid reviews.
All right, because I remember that would be, I guess, the closest, and it's not a horror game, right? But it's probably the closest to a horror game release that we probably had in a while then. Because, like you said, we only had Resident Evil and Silent Hill are the big ones. And honestly, like Silent Hill, when was the last time that Silent Hill came out?
On a PS3 game, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. It's like the last time I ever remember anything Silent Hill related. I don't know if y'all ever remember PlayStation Home. That whole thing where you created a whole avatar and you go online. And
yes.
The last thing that I remember about Silent Hill was the minigame that was inside the thing.
Yeah, it was kind of like the PlayStation's take on like the
Metaverse.
Xbox Avatar and the Nintendo Mii's. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the last time that I remember anything freaking Silent Hill, bro.
That's fucking wild. Like that's so way back. The PlayStation Home. God damn.
Yep.
God damn.
So they better come out. As problem is, I can understand why they don't want to tackle horror games.
That's the next. That's the big anticipated PlayStation Home 2. Like, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back.
I mean, Facebook is doing it. Why can't we?
Yeah. Oh, with the VR 2.
I mean, that would work. That will definitely.
That's
work.
our own VR chat right there.
Right.
Pretty
But
much.
it's like all PlayStation. Like you're like, I don't know. Like it'd be a lot cooler this time around because they can literally just have like a God of War world or a The Last of
I mean,
Us
that
world
would
or
be-
some bullshit like that. How they did it before.
But like my thing is like with horror games right now, I can see how it will be kind of difficult to try implement a new game from the get go because horror games are not necessarily highly sought after, and the only reason why people jump into horror games is because they already know the name, if that makes sense. So I can see why they're no longer.
It's
like,
either that
jumping into-
or if it's viral.
True.
Because I think right now the Quarry is like making its rounds. Like been seeing a lot of people play the Quarry.
Fucking Poppy Playtime
Oh, that's
Yeah.
it.
blew up because of the internet. That game
But
would have
I-
never blown up.
Yeah, but I think it's the accessibility of that one does definitely screw it up because it's just PC, right? So people on PlayStation and Xbox.
I mean, it's a streamer game.
I think Xbox may have it on the pass.
I have no clue, to be
I don't
honest.
know.
I would
But yeah.
guess. I would actually guess not because it's such a small developer, and it's like optimized big time for PC. With how
Not
it
small
plays.
enough if they have NFTs, boy.
Yeah,
Didn't they
Hopefully.
cancel them out?
I don't fucking know.
No, I don't think
NFTs are
so.
so fucking
Just
weird.
everything about those developers just makes me really sick to my stomach. The more I hear about
Yeah.
them. But
Dude,
anyway,
like-
on a brighter side, unless y'all want to talk about that,
No, I was just gonna say like NFTs
No.
funny because even Final Fantasy, Square Enix was talking about NFTs and shit. It's like,
Jesus.
Or I'm hoping that they reconsider.
yeah.
Moving forward.
It's funny because I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about how like Tony Hawk said he was coming out with NFTs or something like that, and
I
then
hope not.
like it had to have been his PR team that talked him into it because when he actually found out what NFTs were, he went back on his Twitter and he was like, "Yeah, sorry guys, I'm reconsidering." And so it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
The bo-
no.
like,
Fuck it.
when the boomers find out the truth. But Mike, I was expecting Mega Man Legends 3 out of you. The game that's never gonna come out.
That game has been canceled for so long. As much as I would love to see it, no, probably
It's not happening.
It's
never
probably not.
ever gonna see it. I mean, the only form that I'll ever get to see it if somebody actually makes like a fan game.
Hey,
That's-
you can always screenshot an NFT of Mega Man Legends 3 and make some 12-year-old cry.
And yep,
And we'll
You're
end on
right.
that note.
yep. What a way to
Well-
end it.
Hope y'all cry.
We hope you all cry.
Hope y'all cry and enjoy crying with us over the loss of Mega Man Legends 3 and the inevitable and laugh at the inevitable demise of Starfield.
Yeah, and I feel
I just-
bad because I know
I-
there's a lot of fans out there that are
I'm not.
excited.
I'm not.
I'm not either. I'm gonna be honest.
And,
but-
and it is really sad to think that 15 years went into that game. And
Exactly.
It doesn't,
Exactly.
And I
I'm
think it
not-
was
feel bad.
more. I'm telling you, I think it
I'm
was
not.
more than 15 years.
maybe.
I gotta know.
But,
baseline 15.
yeah,
But like,
minimum.
But
Minimum
but
time
that's
investment 15
crazy.
years.
Dude, that's half your life working on something for no.
For something
Like-
that looks so similar to another game that
The
did
game,
not do so well at the beginning.
the game is set in a space-themed world and will be the first new intellectual property developed by Bethesda in over 25 years. Okay, no, 25 years since they started, or since they made a new property.
IP, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, really? They only have like 4 properties? Like
Bro,
Fallout,
they've milked Skyrim so much
Mass
that
Effect.
they can't find a new
Wait.
way to re-release Skyrim, and then Fallout 76 was a mess. So yeah, no, 25 years sounds about right.
Wait, wasn't Bethesda the same ones from Mass Effect as well?
That's BioWare.
No, that's
BioWare. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
well.
fuck, I only got like 3. Jesus,
Yep.
that sucks.
All right. Well, I say we
wrap
I
it
think
up.
this is a good way to wrap it up. So
Yes.
you wanna you wanna, I don't know, direct people to different things, Neko? I know you usually like to do that.
I mean, it's so good. I actually do hope that you guys enjoy or are open to this new take of the first edit talk, because unfortunately, this is gonna be the way that it's gonna be going afterwards for a while until some new development happens in our lives. Hopefully, we also this opens doors to keep bringing people in without having to bring them into the studio, right?
True.
It'll definitely be easier, that's for sure.
Yeah, so that's gonna be interesting to see because it definitely opens up possibilities. Oh, but yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see how this one works out.
All right. Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Thank you guys for tuning in on another Press Edu Talk podcast. We hope you enjoy our thoughts on the matter, but cannot wait to see your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.